Good morning, Antioch. How's everyone doing today? We're doing okay? I hope you were meaning those things you were just singing. So I'm going to maybe challenge some of that this morning. It's going to be one of those mornings. So let me just start. We're going through the book of Hebrews this year. And we've been talking about, our word for the year is devoted. We've been talking about what does it mean to be devoted, to run the race. And we finally get to that spot in Hebrews where that infamous verse pops up. Run the race. We've been called to run this race, and listen, running races isn't easy. It's just not. I mean, it's awesome. And afterwards, listen, I will tell you, for those of you who don't know, and there shouldn't be many of you, because I brag about it all the time, I ran a marathon once, in case you never heard. See, here's the thing. Once you've run the race, you look back and you realize how amazing it was and how incredible it was. I wasn't so excited about it while I was running the race. I was like, what am I doing here? This is insane. I am not prepared for this, which is so true. I figured I need to get back in shape. What should I do? I know. I'll run a marathon. That's a great way to get back in shape. So it wasn't a great idea. I was being facetious there. I went out and bought brand new shoes to run this race. Also not a very smart thing to do. I did not have any idea what I was doing. And I ran horribly. I got so hungry in the middle of it, I literally ran into Carl's Jr. to order some food. I'm like, I've got to eat. They were standing on the sides handing out the goo. I'm like, I don't want goo. Like, I tried it. I'm like, ugh, who's eating this? No wonder they're handing it out for free. No one's buying this stuff. Yes, in the midst of trial, in the midst of running, it's never fun. It's never fun in the middle. Now, once you get to the other side, you're like, oh, yeah, did I tell you I ran a marathon? That's right, I finished it. I didn't really run a marathon, to be clear. Let me be honest, in the house of God. I more walked a marathon. Like, I jogged a little bit, and I walked a little bit, but I finished a marathon. I'll just stick with that. Run the race. We finally hit this point where we've been talking about devoted all year long, and being devoted is running the race. It's what it is. It's that not giving up. And listen, when you run the race, at least in my experience, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going full speed all the time. It certainly doesn't mean, this is awesome. I'm running the race. It's wonderful. Isn't it fantastic to be a Christian? Life is so wonderful and great. No. It's not going to be like that because running a race is hard. Running a race takes perseverance. Sometimes the greatest thing you do when you're running the race is not stop moving forward. Even if you're crawling, you are making progress. You are not giving up. That's what it means to be devoted. I am devoted not just to run the race, but to run it, to finish it. I need to apologize in advance for those of you, if you weren't here the last couple of weeks, I'm just going to jump right into the middle of what we've been talking about. So if you haven't been there, go back and listen to the messages online if you can, so you understand the full context of what I'm sharing. But I'll try to share it in a way that everyone can still follow what's going on. But Barnabas is getting to the place where he's wrapping up the book of Hebrews. And he's trying to pull together a whole lot of ideas. And everything he's about to talk about, in fact, the remainder of our time together talking about Hebrews, the next couple of weeks, however long it takes, he's going to be pulling together everything he's been saying. And he's going to finish it well. He's going to be pointing out some stuff. So you have to kind of have the whole book in mind when we read it. So it's a good idea to go back and read through the book of Hebrews multiple times. Now, that'd be a great assignment for you all for next week. Read through the entire book. It's only 13 chapters. It's not that much. Just do a couple chapters a day. You'll get through it really quickly. And you'll revisit some of the places we've been together. But he's about to bring it all together. Now I want to remind you where we left off last week. Hebrews 11, verse 39. Talking about this family of faith. Going through and listing all these people who've gone through these things before us. And done all these amazing things. All these difficult things. All these, like, I can't believe they finished the marathon. I thought they would have quit long before then. He says this, verse 39, these were all commended for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised, since God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect. The something better that God had in store for all those who come before us, that something better is the church. Now, some of you might be like, the church? That's the better thing? And if you feel like that, I'm so sorry we have failed you. Because the church is the most amazing thing that has ever existed on this earth apart from Christ. And the problem is, it's when we're apart from Christ that we're not so amazing. Because he's the head, and we're the body. And we become this new creation, this new organism, this new thing that the world has never seen. That together, as the church, as the body of Christ, with Jesus as our head, there's this amazing, new, better thing that has been promised, and we can walk in, and we can experience together. It's perfect, God says. And we pick up in Hebrews 12. So if you have your Bibles, open up to Hebrews 12. If you don't have a Bible and you need one, we have some in the back there. Feel free to pick one up. You're welcome to keep it if you need a Bible. We would love to share that with you. And I am going to dissect the next couple of verses for you. We're not going to get very far today, but we're going to try to jump deep into it. You guys ready? Good. Here we go. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. So the first thing I want to make sure you understand is the witnesses, the great cloud of witnesses. There's been a lot of debate amongst theologians as to what that means. I'll tell you what I think it means. I think the witnesses are that family of faith that have run the race before us. They're the ones who've gone before us and been through it and know what it's like. They finished the race and now they're waiting for you and cheering you on. If any of you have ever gone through something incredibly difficult before and you've succeeded and you got to the other side of it, and then you see someone you love following in your footsteps and doing it, you cheer them on. You're like, I know you can do this. You got this. And it's like you get to re-experience the thrill of it all without the pain of it all. But here's what I want to dig into today a little bit. Does it bother you a little bit? Maybe it's just me. How nonchalantly the Bible talks about throwing off sin. Like it's just this, oh, just don't sin. That's easy. Just do that. Here's my thought. And test this. And challenge this. But I think my thought is that it's not our sin that we have a hard time throwing off. And I think actually Christ defeated the power of sin in our lives. It doesn't have any power over us anymore. So it's as though we were chained up and locked into this chain. And Jesus came and he unlocked the lock and set us free. And those who Christ has set free are free indeed. And it's just a matter of, just let these chains fall off of me. Why does it not feel that way, though? Because I feel like when I try to take off some of those sins, they don't just fall off. It's like I don't know if he remembered to unlock all of the locks. There was another lock. Am I the only one who feels this way? I should not be the pastor. If that's the case, someone else please come up and finish this message, because I don't think it's your sin that you can't throw off. It's the lie that came in the door through the sin. It's the lie that you're believing, or perhaps the unforgiveness that you're holding on to that is making it impossible for you to throw off the sin. The reason is because as long as you're believing the lie, as long as you're holding on to the offense and unforgiveness, your soul is convinced it needs the sin to make things okay. There is something that happens to us when sin comes in. When we commit a sin or a sin is committed against us, when there is sin, when things are as they shouldn't be, when something goes wrong, there's a lie that we start believing that says something like, oh, I can never really trust people. I can never actually love people the way Jesus says to because they're just going to hurt me. So I can't really trust God with my finances. So, but it's all right. We start believing this lie. And we hold on to the lie. And as long as we hold on to the lie, we think we're going to need a sin to make things better. Bless you. So I think that lock, if we want to use that image, is a lie or unforgiveness. And the problem is, the lock's been undone. The lock's been opened. And we keep trying to take off the chains, and the chains won't come off because you first have to just pull the lock off. And once you pull the lock off, then the chains will fall off. It'll be easy to cast aside your sins once you deal with the root, with the lie, with the unforgiveness. It's like confessing sin. I've shared this before with some of you. Have any of you had the experience where you did something wrong and you felt like God told you, you need to go tell them? You need to go ask forgiveness from them. I remember there's one time, I don't even know why I did this, but I told my mom a lie. Hi, I'm your pastor. I lied to my mother. I don't know why I did. I really don't. For some reason, I thought I needed it. I was believing a lie that told me that instead of casting off the sin of lying, I needed to tell this lie to make things good or to win the argument. And afterwards, after I got off the phone with her, it was like I was carrying around a couch on my shoulders. And God's like, you need to call her, and you need to confess it. You need to ask her to forgive you for lying to her. And I was like, yes, Lord, right away, absolutely. No, I was like, no, I can't do that. Like, I just lied to her. Give me like a month. And I could be like, hey, remember a long time ago when I said you that? Yeah, it wasn't quite. No, he's like, no, you need to call her right back, right now. And I felt like there is no way I can do this. It is impossible. You know what? I did it through the grace of God. It was the easiest thing in the world to do. It was shockingly simple. It was unbelievably simple. You guys, the sins that you're holding on to are so easy to get rid of. They're so easy. It's so much easier than you could possibly imagine. You just have to do it. You just have to deal with the root. You have to deal with the lie that you're believing that is not allowing you to let go of those sins. You have to deal with the unforgiveness that's in your heart that's not allowing you to take it off. that's causing that root of bitterness, and that root of bitterness is going to grow up and it's going to become sin. You got to deal with it. And I think the problem is when we have this sin in our life, we spend so much time focusing on the sin and beating ourselves up and taking on shame and guilt and all the stuff. And we keep staring at the sin instead of fixing our eyes on Jesus. The next verse. Verse 2. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. The pioneer and perfecter of our faith. You guys, the apex of the family of faith is Jesus. He's the head of the family. He's like the godfather of the family, so to speak. I mean, he's the guy. He's the pioneer. Let me just use a different word. He's the trailblazer of our faith. And all of us are just following in his footsteps, hopefully. Again, to use an analogy I've used before, that doesn't work well here because it's Southern California, but I grew up in Chicago where there's lots of snow. And I remember in college having to get to class after a huge snowstorm because they never canceled class. I don't know why. Like here, it drizzles, and like, oh, we have to cancel class. People can't drive, it's drizzling outside. We'd have a blizzard, and they'd be like, nope, class still happening. And you would always, and you could see it, in the quad, someone had to be the first one to walk through the snow. And what you did is you found that path, and you literally stepped into their footsteps to walk through so that you wouldn't get covered with snow in the walk. Jesus is the one who walked through first. He is the pioneer of faith. And we have to learn to walk in his footsteps. All of the people from the last chapter, the Hall of Faith, are encouragers. They're cheering you on. They're showing us, hey, you could do it. They're telling us, listen, we walked in his footsteps. You can do it too. But Jesus is the ultimate example, the primary witness. He is faith perfected. His life is a perfect example of what perfect faith looks like. Now, to be clear, did Jesus have an easy life? The safest place to be is in the center of the will of God. Tell that to Jesus. Sometimes the most difficult place to be is in the center of the will of God. But if you know that he's with you, it doesn't matter. And we're going to get to that in just a moment. In this portion where it says, do not grow weary and lose heart, it's actually a phrase that was coined by Aristotle. For those of you who are interested in this type of stuff, I think it's fantastic. And Aristotle used it to refer to people who at an end of a race collapse and they have nothing else to give. Barnabas is saying, don't do that before the end of the race. Don't collapse and fall down. You've got to finish the race. You have to run the race with perseverance. Don't give up prematurely. Run with perseverance the race. And just one last thought on those verses. There's something about looking at Jesus that changes everything. I mean, there's lots of images I have for this. I mean, you think of, in every movie you have the World War I or World War II soldier that's in the middle of the hardest battle ever, and they look at the picture of their sweetheart at home to give them strength and to encourage them. Now, multiply that by infinity, and you begin to get a sense of what's available to you if you'll just turn your eyes upon Jesus. If you'll just look to him. And not just looking to him, but it also says to consider. Consider Jesus and everything that he's done. Everything that he's gone through. I'm going to try to be a little bit practical here, though it's not my forte. What does it look like to consider Jesus or to look at Jesus? Because some of you are like, get a plastic Jesus thing to put on my dashboard of my car. No, yeah, Jesus bobblehead. Don't do that. That would be a bad idea. I think most people would have this image of a Jesus bobblehead, except it just says no. It never says yes. It's just no, 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 no. You sinner. Sorry. The way we consider Jesus is worship. When we worship him with understanding. The way we consider Jesus and his life is we study. We study the Word of God. We listen to podcasts and messages to encourage us. We study. That's how we consider Jesus. We practice what he did and what he commanded us to do. What was it like when Jesus prayed for people? You want to know what it was like? Start praying for people. That's how you consider Jesus. Going through the disciplines. That's how you study and you consider Jesus and you look to Jesus. Let me keep going. It's too much practical stuff. Verse 4. Are you guys alive still? Yeah. I'm sorry, just making sure. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. Now, I just want to point something out. He's not talking about your sin. He just gave the example. Look at the context. Always read in context. He just gave the example of Jesus suffering from the sins of others. He already dealt with your sin. You already cast that off. This is referring to the sinful opposition of sinners. It's when those who are looking at you and trying to take you out, just like they did with Jesus. We have an enemy who's very real. The devil, Satan, whatever you want to call him, is real. It's not just a story. He doesn't wear red tights, just to be clear, and walk around with a pitchfork. We have a very real enemy who hates us beyond anything you could possibly imagine. He hates us more than Hillary Clinton hates Trump. Like, way more. He hates you so much, guys. And he's always waiting for an opportune moment to attack. Those who love the darkness hate the light. They do. There is a ton of opposition in this world that is going to try to stop you. They crucified Jesus. And he told us, if they hated me, they're gonna hate you too. One of those verses that no one really likes to memorize. And what they're going to attempt to do is they're going to try to terrorize you into ceasing your race, into giving up, to stop running, to silence you and keep you quiet. And I need to say this because you need to hear this. Don't answer hate with hate. That is not the tool that we have been given. Don't fall back into unforgiveness, because then the chains of sin are going to come right back on you. Don't start believing the lies that they tell you. You just untangled yourself from that mess. Don't take it on again. Instead, the way that we should be responding when people come against us, when people are attacking us, when people tell you, you should stop believing in Christianity like this. Instead, let me give you a better, more updated version of Christianity that you should believe that's more politically correct with our culture. Here's what we do. Nehemiah 6, verses 2 through 4. Sanballat and Geshem sent me this message. Come, let us meet together in one of the villages on the plain of Ono. But they were scheming to harm me. Come, let us meet together. Let me tell you about a better way to think of Jesus that's, embraces everyone and anything they want to do. So I sent messengers to them with this reply. I hate you. You're idiots. No, I sent messengers with this reply. I'm carrying on a great project and cannot go down. Why should I stop? Why should the work stop while I leave it and go down to you? 4 times they sent me the message, and each time I gave them the same answer. I'm sorry, I am too busy worshiping God to worry about that nonsense. But have a nice day. James said it this way. Submit yourself then to God. Resist the devil, and he'll flee. But I want to make sure you understand and you have this perspective that life is an awful lot like Pilgrim's Progress, for those of you who've read it. You are just trying to walk the path of righteousness. You're trying to follow Jesus. And there will be no shortage of people who try to knock you off that path, who try to entice you into another way, who try to beat you down and keep you from finishing the race. But run with perseverance. Verse 5. Okay. You know what? Let's just not read these next couple of verses. Let's just close now. Let me have the worship team come up, because these, just skip it. And have you completely forgotten this word of encouragement that addresses you as a father addresses his son? It starts so nice. It says, my son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you. Because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son. Yeah, I forgot that one. Have you forgotten? Yep. I specifically remember forgetting that, because that sounds horrible. That's not encouraging at all, Barnabas. What do you mean, the encouraging word? All right, so we have to see the context of this, or it just seems like silliness. How could this possibly be an encouraging word that we're going to go through discipline and difficult times and trials and tribulations? How is that encouraging at all? Here's my perspective. God doesn't cause bad things to happen to us in order to discipline you. He's like, now what could I do to them that'll discipline them? I know. I'll have this horrible thing happen. That way I can discipline them. No. God is using the very opposition from the sinners that he was just talking about, where we have to resist the sinful opposition, and we haven't done it to the point of blood yet, to the point of bleeding yet. That those attacks that come against us from other sins and even from our own, God looks at that and he says, okay, I'm going to do something with that. I'm going to make something beautiful out of this. Think Joseph and his brothers. I don't think God made his brothers throw him into the pit and put him into slavery. I don't think that's what the Bible teaches either. But Joseph could look at that and say, okay, what you intended for harm, God intended for good. God's going to do something good out of that, even though you didn't mean for it to be. Excuse me, I'm going to grab this. My iPad has decided to update right this moment. It's perfect timing. Don't you love that? It's good stuff. I know, it's Illuminati, man. Jesus is teaching me a lesson. I make a comment against sovereignty of God. He's like, oh yeah? I'm going to restart your computer right now. He did. He caused the bad thing to happen. Here's what I want you to grab from this. No matter the circumstance or trial that you find yourself in, no matter how bad things seem, no matter what is happening to you right now, and let's be clear, some of y'all are going through some horrible, horrible stuff. Terrible stuff. Incredible pain. Here's the one thing you can know for sure. God is up to something. He will never waste a hurt. Verse 7, it says, endure hardship as discipline. That's so important. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children, for what children are not disciplined by their father? Here's the thing, guys. You have two options. The two options are either you can allow the hardship to discipline you and change you and transform you and make you better than you were before it. Or the hardship's just going to be hardship. Those are the two options. So either you are going to view the hardship as discipline and you are going to reap the spoils of victory, or you're just going to see hardship as hardship and you're going to be bitter afterwards. Where was God? Now, I feel like I need to say this to you because we need to know this. There's going to be hardship either way. There's going to be pain either choice. There is no third option that removes you from all of the pain of life. This is why I have a small church. People know this. There's going to be loss either way. There is. That's why we have heaven to look forward to, where everything will be as it's meant to be. Nothing will be as it isn't meant to be. But in this world, you will have tribulations. Hey, that's scripture. But do not fear, for I have overcome the world. Verse 8, if you are not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? They disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good, in order that we may share in his holiness. Oh, there's so much to say about that. Share in his holiness. That's crazy. You guys, this is such a huge part of living a life of faith. Kingdom people, those who live a life of faith, those who live a life with God, will know that God will make something beautiful out of every circumstance. And that's how we know we can give thanks in all circumstances. And it is only faith that makes this possible. because it's impossible to see how it could possibly be good. That's what faith is for, to help you see what can't be seen. That's what faith is. It helps you to see what's impossible to see. It helps you to hold on. For those of you who have read The Hiding Place, give thanks for the fleas. How could you possibly ever give thanks for the fleas? If you haven't read the book, I won't ruin it for you. Go read it. There's a song, recent song that came out, and I just love this one verse from it. If it's not beautiful, you're not done with me. Oh, gosh. If it's not beautiful, you're not done with me. Do you have the faith for that? If it's not beautiful, you're not done with me. Having this confidence, this faith, this trust that no matter what I'm going through, if it's not beautiful, oh, God's not done yet. It's going to be amazing. I just lost my job. Oh, I can't wait to see what God is up to. If it's not beautiful, he's not done yet. It is when life is most difficult that you need him the most. Jesus doesn't give up on you when things get tough. Don't give up on him. I don't understand why we're so tempted when things go wrong and things get hard. That's when we leave him. That's the worst time to leave. At least get past the hard part and then leave him if you're going to leave him. I mean, think about it. If he's leading us through the valley of shadow of death and you're like, you know what, that's it, I'm done. You're still in the valley of the shadow of death. And eventually, that shadow is going to take over and become your reality. And you will die in that place. You remain without a guide to lead you out. You guys, don't give up on him when things get hard. It's when you need him more than ever. Verse 11, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Oh, man. Don't give up. Don't grow weary. Don't lose faith. Keep following. Keep pressing after him. Let us choose to receive hardship as discipline. To recognize when the difficult times come, that's when God is kicking in and he's doing something amazing. And I want to say something more. I love this poem, but I love picking on it too. It's a weird relationship I have with the Footprints poem. I want to make sure you understand when difficult times come, it's not just that Jesus is going to pick you up and walk you through the difficult time. What's going to happen is when the difficult times come, he's going to be like, I am going to give you strength so that you could walk right through this thing. I'm going to be in you and moving and make you into the type of person that this couldn't take you out. But the thing is, when you get past the situation, he's not like, okay, now give me that back. It's like, okay, now you've got that strength for everything. Now you got that power. What are you going to do with it now? I want to say this quick side note. I know I'm like kind of all over the place this morning, but I just want to make sure I say all these things because they're so heavy on my heart. Don't embrace hardship as a good in itself. Bad things are bad things. And just because God brings something good out of it doesn't make it a good thing. You guys, the cross sucks. The cross is horrible. It is terrible. Crucifixion is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. It will never be a good thing. It will always be a bad thing. But God did something so beautiful out of it that we make jewelry out of it now. Sin is sin. Bad is bad. It's not going to change. The hardship, the difficulty that some of you are going through sucks. It's terrible. And I am so sorry that you're going through it. And it's not fair, and it's not right, and it is sin, and it's terrible. But God will still make something beautiful out of it. Don't start worshiping the hardships. This has been an error in the church in the past. Verse 12, therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. Toughen up, Buttercup. It's gonna be tough. You gotta run with perseverance. You better strengthen your arms and your legs, or you're not gonna make it through. Strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. Prepare yourself. Get ready. Have the worship team come up here, and then we're going to close out in a way that's a little bit different than I've done before. At least closing out the message portion. And we're going to do a prayer together. Now, I'm going to say a led prayer, and you're just going to repeat it after me. And I'm going to ask for one thing. If you can't say this and mean it, please don't say it. Let's be authentic in our prayers. Now, if you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do that, that seems impossible, that's fine. It is impossible. But He's going to provide you with everything you need to do it. That's what grace is all about. You'll have divine empowerment, divine strength to accomplish everything He's called us to. But if you're like, yeah, I don't agree with that, then don't pray it. Okay? So let me have you guys stand up. I'd have you hold hands, but I always hate when pastors do that. I always stand next to the guy with real sweaty palms. All right, here we go. Lord, today I choose to follow you. I will follow in the steps of those who have gone before me. And lock arms with those beside me. I will fix my eyes on you and consider how you lived. I choose to forgive those who have sinned against me and to renounce the lie that any sin is better than being with you. I will trust you in the darkness to be the light that guides me through. I choose to give thanks in all circumstances, knowing you are faithful. And I declare that if it's not beautiful, you're not done with me. That if it's not beautiful, you're not done with me. I choose this day to follow you.